Now it is.
Just talk then.
Okay.
Start from the beginning.
All right. Let's try this again. Now my microphone is on. Good afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Blake Mathews here. We are shaping up to see a very violent afternoon here as far as severe weather goes across portions of Oklahoma and North Texas. In fact, it's a very unique situation, so much so that the Storm Prediction Center has issued a 5 out of 5, what we call a high risk of severe weather. The last time that this was issued was back in 2017, so it's been about 2 years since we've seen a setup like this that could lead to the evolution of EF3, EF4, and EF5 tornadoes this afternoon, getting across North Texas and into Oklahoma. Now, I want to emphasize that this is not going to be a threat for us here in Houston. In fact, we're looking at really mostly sunny skies and hot conditions leading all the way through the Memorial Day weekend, with the exception of tomorrow. We do have a slight chance of rain. So let's talk about this setup. We've got a very strong area of low pressure that has developed across portions of Colorado. Believe it or not, Denver sitting at 38 degrees with rain and snow falling at this time. On the backside of this, we've got cold conditions and dry weather. This yellow line you see here is what we call a dry line. That is the separation between warm, moist air out ahead of it and very dry air behind it. So that's the division line. Here we have a warm front, and that's going to play a very key role into how all of this begins to evolve. So as we go forward into time here, let's advance it along. You'll notice that this area of low pressure will slowly move to the north. Now, out ahead of it, out ahead of the dry line, we have a moist air mass coming in right out of the Gulf of Mexico. That is what we call the warm sector. This is your warm, moist air feeding in out of the Gulf. That is why it's so humid and so hot here in Houston, because obviously we are right in the heart of the warm sector. Now, on the back side of this, we have cool, dry air moving in behind the dry line, behind the cold front. And as those two air masses begin to mix, they collide right here over Oklahoma. You have westerly winds coming in from the west, you have southerly winds coming in from the south, and they are all meeting right here across portions of Tornado Alley. So here's what that wind looks like, by the way. This is wind at the surface, and you see all the lines coming in from the south. We have that strong south wind from Houston to Waco to Dallas, moving into Oklahoma City and right up into that area of low pressure across portions of Colorado. Now look what happens. This is the surface. There are winds right there coming in from the south, but look what happens when we go upstairs to about 18,000 feet. My goodness, the wind is coming in from the southwest to the northeast. It is coming in from a completely different direction. That is what we call wind shear, and when you have a lot of wind shear, of collision of winds, that gets the air circulating in the atmosphere. Couple that with a very, very moist atmosphere. This is, look at our dew points, 71 degree dew point there in Oklahoma City. That is a very, very moist, warm environment, certainly capable of producing very violent tornadoes as we get into the afternoon hours. But by the way, look at this, Woodward, Oklahoma, sitting at 45 degree dew point, 56 in Amarillo. So your dry line is sitting just like that, just to the west of Oklahoma City. And that is going to be the catalyst to get all this moisture, all this energy lifted up into a very unstable atmosphere. And that is going to set the stage for a very dangerous afternoon. In fact, there you go. This is today a 5 out of 5. Again, the last time that this was issued was 2 years ago. And it does include the Oklahoma City metropolitan area. It does include areas getting out towards Childress, Texas, in areas just to the east of Lubbock. So this is the area we could see those EF4 and EF5 tornadoes for today. And in fact, it is such a dangerous situation that they have canceled all classes across most of the state of Oklahoma. The University of Oklahoma at Norman has canceled classes for today as well, as the onset of severe weather continues to move into that region. Now, what we're looking at here are some of the watches. What you see down here towards Lubbock is going to be a regular tornado watch, but what I want to show you here in Oklahoma City, see this yellow portion right here? That is what we call a PDS, a particularly dangerous situation. And these kind of tornado watches are reserved just for that, particularly dangerous situation. Is to get your attention that this is a real life-threatening event taking place here across portions of Oklahoma. And that PDS tornado watch does include areas near Tulsa, all of the Oklahoma City metropolitan area, all the way down to the Red River. So right near Gainesville, Texas is where the that tornado watch is going to pick up. So if you have friends and family, again, in the Oklahoma area, I'm hoping that they are paying very close attention to the weather. Now, right now, not a whole lot going on in the metropolitan area of Oklahoma City. We are seeing some storm development out here towards Amarillo. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for areas just to the north of Amarillo. And You'll notice now we're starting to see, excuse me, we're starting to see some supercells developing just to the east of Lubbock, and the National Weather Service, along with the Storm Prediction Center, saying that they are going to see this environment rapidly deteriorate as we get into the next couple of hours. So we're going to start seeing these supercells becoming very widespread across portions of the Panhandle and getting into southwest Oklahoma. Now, I realize that we're spending a lot of time on an area that's a long ways from here, but this is certainly going to make headlines across the United States tonight and into tomorrow, especially if this event unfolds the way we think that it will. Now, not only is there a big tornado risk for this evening, but there's also a big flood risk. In fact, they have a high risk also of seeing some flooding rains, and we've got flood watches in effect for a large chunk of the southern parts of the Midwest. So once again, there's a look at the radar, zooming right on into Oklahoma City. Not a whole lot going on there locally right now. We do have a flood advisory up here across portions of northern Oklahoma. That includes Woodward, Fairview, and Ponca City, getting out near Stillwater as well. Some OSU fans out there, I'm sure. But again, not a whole lot going on in Oklahoma City. Chickasha, getting out towards Lawton. We're going to continue to watch this because this is the area that we're going to see some very, very nasty thunderstorms developing over the next couple of hours. Once again, out here towards the Amarillo area, there's Amarillo right there. We're starting to see some individual supercells trying to develop. We've got some severe thunderstorm warnings as well out here near Crosbyton, moving to the northeast, out near Turkey, Texas, out just to the east of Highway 20, Interstate 27. So if you're not familiar with this area, very desolate. I've driven through here one time, and that was last year, and there is not much out here, I can tell you that. So if there's any silver lining here, it's that a lot of these towns are small and they're sparsely populated, and if there are any big tornadoes that form in this part of Texas or in southwest Oklahoma, there's not much to hit. But I'll tell you, if they do hit something, it will be a very bad day for those folks up there. So something we're going to continue to watch. Again, if you're just joining us, we have a very, very violent situation shaping up here across areas of the heartland. Now, and the reason why, a very, very intense area of low pressure once again forming across southern parts of Colorado. In fact, we measure storm strength in terms of pressure. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. Some of the models are showing this coming in at a 981 millibar pressure. Average surface pressure, 1013. So this is quite equivalent to like a Category 1 hurricane strengthening over portions of Colorado. That's how strong this area of low pressure could become. Out ahead of it, we've got a dry line and a cold front. We've got the warm front, and that is setting the stage for the perfect recipe here for some very strong weather. So we've got that strong southerly flow coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico, bringing lots of Gulf moisture all the way up into Oklahoma. That is what we call the warm sector. This is where the warm, moist air is located. But out to the west, behind the dry line, you've got the cool, dry air beginning to come in right off the Rocky Mountains. And you get those two air masses to collide, and they will right over Oklahoma, and that's going to set the stage for a strong tornadoes. Now again, there's the surface wind coming in across the state. Right here's Houston, right here, Waco, Dallas, Oklahoma City. And you can see all these winds racing in from the southeast to the northwest towards that area of low pressure. Now, there you go. But let's go upstairs to 18,000 feet. This is what we call 500 millibars. And look at this. They're coming in from the opposite direction. They're coming in from the south and west. And look how the winds are colliding, just like this. And that is setting the stage for a spin motion in the atmosphere, and any storms that develop will begin to rotate, especially when you're looking at an environment that is so moist. 71-degree dew point right now in Oklahoma City is extremely moist for those folks. But look out just to the west, out towards Woodward, where they're sitting at a 45-degree dew point. So the lower that number, the drier that air is. And there's the collision of air masses going on just to the west of Oklahoma City. So it's no wonder they have issued this 5 out of 5 here from Oklahoma City down to areas just east of Lubbock, something we haven't seen issued in 2 years. In fact, the 20-year average for a high risk to be issued is only about 3 per year, but there are sometimes we can go 2, 3, 4 years before we see one of these high risks issued for any part of the country. So once again, a PDS tornado watch has been issued for central Oklahoma. This is a particularly dangerous situation. They don't issue these tornado watches very often, but we do have one this afternoon now for most of Oklahoma. and we're going to continue to watch very carefully our friends to the north. Of course, if any tornadoes do begin to touch down, we're going to try to capture them live and bring them to you right here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We'll be tracking this throughout the afternoon, and of course, our thoughts are with the folks up there in Oklahoma facing a tough afternoon with some very, very violent weather. All right, that's all we have for you right now. We're going to let you get back to whatever it is you were doing, and we're going to continue to work on the forecast here locally once again. Hot, dry, all the way through the upcoming Memorial Day weekend, including Memorial Day itself. The only fly in the ointment will be tomorrow with that slight chance of rain. Hope everybody has a great afternoon, and Erica and Chief Meteorologist David Paul will see you on TV beginning today at 4.